Hello and welcome to the Seer 365 sessions. Every week we invite some of our partners and interesting people from the Microsoft Dynamics channel to talk to you about what they're seeing in the channel, what they're seeing with their customers, interesting business ideas. And this week I'm really pleased to introduce Stuart Hardman from Dynamics Consultants. So Stuart, welcome to the pod.
Hi Richard, thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you. Thank you very much for finding the time to talk to us. So before we begin, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm Stuart Hardman. I'm the commercial manager at Dynamics Consultants. I've been doing this role for a couple of years now, but previously spent about 20 years as a Navision, Nav, Business Central consultant implementing projects. So lots of background in the product that we deal with. And my new role means I get to involve more with the product itself, investigating it, looking at what it does, what it can achieve, and looking at partners. Who can we partner with? Who can provide us with solutions that we can incorporate into what we offer to our customers?
Cool. And as a hobby, I know that you love beer, right? So as a retired rugby player, I too have had a beer in my day.
Yep.
But you're a bit more into it than just the usual pints of Guinness.
Yeah, so my wife bought me a Christmas present a few years back to attend a brewery day at like a local pub that brews its own beer. Went to it with a friend, had a great day, and then decided to try a little homebrew kit. So tried the kit, quite liked it. Then lockdown kicked in, so I decided to try my hand at proper brewing, all grain, doing it on the stovetop. And then every Saturday it was a routine, little ritual. I make some beer, the wife bakes some bread, and they're very beneficial to each other. The steam from the beer helps the bread, so that's my excuse. Oh. So about 35 brews down now after the last few years. So yeah, good start.
Very cool. Well, if anybody's watching this live on LinkedIn, feel free to leave a comment. Apart from anything else, to know that you're there on your favorite beer. And the correct answer is anyone you put apart from Stella, which is disgusting.
Yeah,
yeah. So tell me a little bit more about Dynamics Consultants. What do you guys do?
So Dynamics Consultants, or DC, we're a partner primarily dealing with Business Central. So our core solution is Business Central. We've been going for about 15 years now. Very technical company, so we've got lots and lots of experience. We like to boast we've got 300 years worth of BC knowledge in the company. We also deal with surround technologies. So now we look at things like the Power Platform, we look at e-commerce and integrating to it, but everything we do has Business Central at the core of that solution. And we do two main kinds of projects. We do ETO, which is engineer to order. So it's designing from the ground up, implementing everything from scratch. And then we've got an ABC offering. So ABC is our accelerated Business Central, which is live in a day, get you up and running within a very short space of time, pre-packaged, pre-configured, and repeatable, which is the key thing.
Very cool. Thanks. And we've already had a comment from Jesse, who, by the looks of it, knows you because apparently your beer's of high quality.
I bring it to the office for testing. Just testing, obviously, yeah.
There's worse things to bring to the office, definitely.
Definitely.
Cool. So what we were planning on talking about today was small, medium business, SMB, and what you're seeing around that. So obviously, we're Stuart and I both based in the UK. If you haven't worked it out by the accents and our support of very poor football teams. So we're going through a lot of changes, right? We came out of Brexit to start with, and then this is not a political podcast, so we won't be going to that. Then obviously we had the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. Which obviously affected businesses of all sizes, but obviously for the smaller businesses that can have a real big impact.
Definitely.
And now we're sort of the other side of that with the cost of living and the way people are buying and living. To be honest, I'm here in the Seer shed, as I like to call it, and I go into the office maybe once a month or something. So, lots of things are changing. So a lot of this seems to be driving lots of different behaviors in SMB. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in the market.
So obviously being Business Central partner primarily, Business Central moved to the cloud sort of 4 or 5 years ago now. So I think that version 13 and 14, it moved to the cloud. So we've seen a gradual shift. It started off quite slowly. Maybe the product wasn't quite ready, if I'm allowed to say that. It wasn't quite fully perfected for the web, if you like, and being in a browser.
So it wasn't completely distilled.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yeah, not fermented fully, perhaps.
Fermented fully. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Need a little bit of bottle conditioning, I think. So it was a bit slow to get started, but then we found probably in the year leading up to I use the pandemic. It's like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, and during the pandemic. So the year leading up to the pandemic, we found it getting more traction. We found more people who were willing to look at the cloud as an option, to move to the cloud with Business Central. So we had sort of one or two that we sold, I'd say probably in the months just leading up to it. Then obviously hit pandemic. Everyone suddenly was like, oh my God, we need to be working from home. We can't be in the office. And that really, it drove it. So we found in the last, I think 2.5, 3 years, we've not sold a single on-premise Business Central implementation. We were entirely on-prem beforehand. So a few months leading up to pandemic, during the pandemic, and now, if you can say we're through it, it's been entirely cloud-based. So it really drove it home. It forced that mental shift, I think, with businesses to go from actually we can have a server in the corner, employ a couple of IT guys to manage that server, to maintain it. And it's gone from that to being actually, if we're in the cloud, it's a whole lot more accessible. So the key thing is accessibility. You can access Business Central now, any device. You can be anywhere in the country. You could be sitting on the beach somewhere in the Bahamas. You could be in France in some sort of rural outback. I need to try that one still, but that's in the future. You're sitting in your office and you're still accessing exactly the same system. You're seeing it the same way. So it's been a bit of a boon, I think, in some ways, the pandemic, and that it's helped drive that mind shift within companies. Okay,
so you think the accessibility bit is is a big chunk of it. Obviously, the way that customers had traditionally paid for a project, or that sort of capital expenditure model, I know that certainly when that shift started to happen from on-prem to the cloud, there was a lot of people, both very knowledgeable people at Microsoft, and I know I spoke to a few of them, and they weren't sure if customers would be willing to ERP in the cloud. That seemed to be kind of a step too far, but that's definitely happening.
No, I think what you mentioned about the funding side of things is interesting as well, because we all moved from sort of the capex, historically large outlay, tens and tens of thousands of pounds.
The good old days.
Exactly. Yeah. Big sales, ringing the bell when they came in, to being this monthly recurring revenue. Everything in life is moving towards that kind of model now. You've got your Shopify, your Disney Plus, Netflix, whatever it might be. You're paying a monthly service effectively. You're getting everything for that one monthly fee. And I think finally now ERP is starting to move in that direction. So from a business perspective, it helps build the value in the company as well. So if you're building that monthly revenue, if you're depending on what you want to do with the business, it makes the business worth more, because you can see that you've got the recurring revenue every single month consistently coming into the business. So that's, from a business owner perspective, that's obviously a massive boon as well. And from a customer perspective, you know where you are. You're not having these large lumps once a year for the maintenance bills or the support bills. It's just a monthly outgoing, and you can take it in as part of your ongoing costs of the business.
Cool. And sort of any other thing that you're seeing from customers? Are they sort of, because obviously back in the day, a customer would do the implementation traditionally with a partner, and then that would basically be it, until it came to an upgrade or something. Whereas
I think we've had a slightly different model. So we go on the continuous improvement basis. So we don't run away once we implement it. We will implement, and we will stay as the trusted advisor. So we will look to continuously provide improvements to the company. So we'll go in there regularly, we'll talk to the customers, we'll talk to various people in the business and find out where we can bring the next improvement. So small improvements sometimes is, sell them something, improve something, let them see the benefit of it, and then that helps fund the next round of improvements. So we've always worked in that kind of cyclic style. So that's not changed. But what we have found, also with the move to the cloud, is you've got the regular updates. So you've got biannual big changes, and then monthly, hot fixes and the like. That means from an upgrade perspective, it's all changed. So we're having to accommodate those regular tweaks and changes from Microsoft, which occasionally are breaking changes. Thankfully, we get notification ahead of time, so we can look at those, resolve them, and make sure that we've got the updates rolled out in time for any upgrades from Microsoft. But that also gives us more opportunity. So rather than it being every 3 or 4 years carrying out a big upgrade project and billing the customer how many tens of thousands for that, we can have them on a repeat cycle for upgrades. We can charge them a monthly fee. We know what they've got in their system. So small monthly fee will ensure that anything you've got will continue to work with the latest releases of Microsoft's solutions that we sell. So I think, the release cycle is interesting. That's driven more people to the cloud, I think, as well, because if you're on-prem, you fall behind quicker. Where it used to be, big release once a year, there's these monthly releases. So if you want to be up to date, you want to be on a safe, secure, hosted environment, you need to stay up to date. You need to be in the cloud to achieve that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen as well is a move away from custom development. All right, so to move to more ISV and repeatable IP. Have you seen something similar?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously we've got App Source from Microsoft. So they've got there's an increasing number of apps in App Source. I won't say varying qualities, but varying levels of use. Some of them very, very niche, and some of them much more generic. So that's obviously helped that we can point people towards that and say to customers, actually look at App Source, see if there's something there that suits you. On the flip side of it, it also means that rather than having a small handful of partners that we deal with and then doing all the bespoke development ourselves, we suddenly have to accommodate working with numerous partners, working with lots and lots of different products. So part of my role is to ensure that we're maybe distilling that group, use that term again, distilling that group down to a smaller set of partners that we are familiar with, that we work with regularly, and finding those ones that have the best offerings, that offer the best fits for the kind of businesses that we deal with.
All right, okay.
Bespoke development has obviously decreased massively as well. We've got a development team here, so we still do a lot of that for the ETO type projects and also for the more legacy type systems we've got, but it's definitely on the decrease. And even with that, we're finding repeatability. So we develop a solution, we'll kind of almost pop it on the shelf and think, right, actually that's more reusable. And the way in which Business Central uses extensions now means that we can reuse the functionality really easily. So we can take a piece of development we've done and then with a minimum amount of effort, reuse it in another customer. Whereas in the past, it's been a whole sort of, merge the objects, do all kinds of fancy development to get the systems working together. It's a lot easier now with a new way of working.
Yeah, I think so. When I first started in Dynamics, which was nearly at my coming up to my third decade at this point. So I think I've got another few months before I hit 20 years. So one of the things that always impressed me with Navision as it was back then, and now Business Central, was that breadth of third-party add-ons, if you like, or ISV solutions. My favorite one was always, there was a partner that did an add-on for fish farming. And I just thought it was just a really good example of something that if you were a fish farmer, super important to have that functionality, but clearly not something that would be particularly useful for a manufacturer of widgets somewhere. It's very different, right? But so I think that's one of the benefits of BC, and I think that's why you've seen such massive growth of BC. I think I'm right in saying, unless things have changed dramatically recently, that BC is the fastest growing product Microsoft have across everything. Just incredible growth.
It would be nice to see some actual figures for that sometimes, but I believe so too. So.
Well, I always believe Microsoft stats. It's
always,
it's a failing of mine, but I always that's good. So that's cool. Thanks for all that. From advice, one of the things we're trying to do on this podcast is to kind of share knowledge and I don't want to use the term thought leadership because I'm not that guy, but that type of stuff. So have you got some advice for partners who or customers for that matter who are looking to implement an ERP or CRM system in that small medium business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously I have to approach it more from the partner side. So I think even from a partner perspective, a lot of the tips I would give would reflect on the customer side as well. So have a product champion, absolutely key. So on our side of the fence, we also need people that can understand the product. Having one person that will go out there, will investigate new functionality, will delve into things, try and break things, try and work out what works and what doesn't in the system, how to use it is fantastic. From the customer side, the same kind of principle. You need to have key users. You need to have somebody, a small group of people, which will embrace the solution, that are evangelists for it within the business. If you don't have that, you're always going to struggle to implement a new system. So you need people that buy into it. And it doesn't have to be, the top tier of management. It can be people on the shop floor. But if you've got a few people scattered amongst the business who will learn it, who will talk positively of it, that always helps massively when you've got any project ongoing. So, and it's nice as a partner to deal with people like that rather than sort of the negative people who maybe are resistive to change. So that's definitely that's a key thing. I think from a partner side, I think for us, repeatability is it's absolutely crucial, and it's something that Microsoft have been driving for a number of years, but it's starting to come to fruition a lot more now. Whether that's repeatability of implementation processes, repeatability of IP or development, whatever it might be, it lowers your costs. It makes it quicker to get a system in place to get a project live with the customer. And I know I shouldn't be mentioning it, but Guide 365, which we recently adopted ourselves in the process of putting in, I think that's going to help us, particularly with the ETO type projects. It means we get that consistency of approach, that repeatable approach to when we're talking to customers, ascertaining what their requirements are. And the other bit, I think, again, both from our side and from the customer side, is use more video. Yeah. Video is an absolute godsend, and it's so easy now. Everything you've got records. You've got your laptops that record, your phones that record. If you're using Teams or other products are available, record the meetings, record the demonstrations that you do, record the training, because you don't need to repeat that training 3 or 4 times. Then you can record it, you can put it out there. If it's a product demo, it means you're saving time in the sales cycle. You can show people videos, they can watch it at their own time, they can come back with questions if they've got them, but it means you don't have to do that same process every time, repeat the same lines, the same scripts, going through the same cycle. You can do that. And say training's great. Training now, record it, put it in SharePoint somewhere, use a tool that captures it and transcribes it, and make use of that. If everyone's got it now, everyone's got the ability to record things, so do it.
Yeah. I know, great tips, mate. And just going back to, I think it was your middle one, around getting that ownership or that buy-in from the customer. There's an old Welsh proverb that my dad likes, which roughly translated, for those of you who don't speak the language of heaven, is that something that you grow is better than something that you buy. And I think having that internal ownership where you've got a team that bought in, because to your point, it doesn't mean you have to be the department head or the CFO or the CEO or whatever. Obviously, you need their buy-in as well. But having somebody who is seen as the best, the go-to person in the warehouse or the go-to person in the finance team, and having them part of the project rather than, and I always, apologies to anybody listening to this called Bob, I always call them Bob. And Bob's the guy that nobody wants to work with, is the pain. Putting them on the project is a really fast way of getting some problems into the project. So great tips. So we're coming to the end. So I just wanted to put a few bits up. So the first thing is Dynamics consultants have just done a customer webinar. So if you want to know a little bit more about Dynamics consultants and the work they do, I've just put a QR code up as well, and I've also created a bit.ly thing. So for those of you who are listening to this, I'll actually put it into the show notes on the podcast as well. But the QR code and the bit.ly URL are there as well. But yeah, so if you want to try and get hold of Stuart, he's a busy man, but I've put his LinkedIn profile details there. So please add him on LinkedIn and get a conversation going. So I just want to thank Stuart again for your time today. It was great to talk to you, and I've certainly learned a lot. So I really appreciate your time. Excellent. And I look forward to trying some of your beer fairly soon.
I'll make sure I bring some next time.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. I hope everybody has a great week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.